Well, first of all, thank you very much for taking time out of your day and your busy schedules to join us on what has now turned out to be a beautiful sunny afternoon. You're welcome. I can't guarantee it will stay that way. So why are we here? Well, it's about AI. It's about all the noise that surrounds AI that we have been hearing over the last couple of years. It's about evolution or revolution. It is about, do we need to adopt it early and quickly, or actually do we need to sit back and understand what everybody else has been doing? In the years since we published the paper Rising Above the Noise, there has been even more growth in AI and more capabilities coming out. But the noise is still there. I would even argue that it has got noisier. And some of us are still not fully understanding how it is we can appreciate and utilize the potential and then understand what the impact is. So that noise, as this area continues to evolve, is putting us into a position where we're not quite sure how is it we adopt it? How can we leverage it for our industry, for the built environment? To help us cut through that noise, it is a genuine, real pleasure to have another opportunity to hear from and get to talk to Inma Martinez. Inma is a renowned technology and AI expert. She is a visionary and has a huge wealth of knowledge across many industries, including financial investment, telecommunications, Formula One. I will always get the Formula One in whenever we meet. And she advises globally governments and businesses on how to engage with AI. In addition to this, Inma has been at the forefront of groundbreaking technology that we have now come to use in our day-to-day life through the way that technology has led in mobile, in music, in video, connected cars, and then closer to our world, connected smart homes and potentially buildings. So I'm confident that listening to her expertise, she will give us some ideas to take home to understand how AI and how we can use it in the built environment. Inma, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to have a discussion, but I was asked to kind of put together some notes and some thoughts that I think would be relevant to put us in the frame of mind of what we'll be later discussing. So a year ago, ISS and I worked on a report that we hope would ignite both clients and stakeholders' expectations and understanding of what artificial intelligence can really deliver to the built office environment. And we aimed to make it very factual, present realities, and really what AI is for, which is an optimization tool, an achiever of precision, a cognition system that presents answers to what we know that we do not know and reveals unknowns that are just lurking around us. And a year later, the world is still reeling from the vertiginous spins that AI is causing to what we consider our realm, which is controlling reality, making decisions. And AI has taken its superpowers to areas where it could really beat us, and more, is actually daring to challenge us at creativity. And it's also forced us to acknowledge that we were running a world pretty biased. And I'm not referring to social media, but really job applications, individual credit ratings, healthcare patient data wrongly assumed, and even using facial recognition in some countries when, as a scientist, I can tell you is not yet fully bulletproof. So why are we talking about AI? Well, 27 years ago, the members of Mensa fell off their high chairs when one of them, Grand Chess Master Garry Kasparov, lost to a big thinking machine called Big Blue. And Mensa, which was created after World War II, defends the theory that only those with a super high IQ should lead the world and be revered. So when a type A force brute computational brain won at the IQ game, their conclusion was that humanity was doomed to a future of machines taking over the world. Yeah, that's why AI has a bad name. And still, to their frustration, a new superpower emerged, which is technology. And technology is an engineering science based on maths, but also is a trade that looks at solving problems with creativity and imagination and humor. And if you're going to write software, or you're going to hack into an admin system, or you're going to build rockets, you need to think not with IQ, but you need to think like Leonardo da Vinci. And not like the one-gear members of the jury at the Nobel Prize organization, which always denied Einstein a Nobel Prize in physics because they wanted the winners to be able to prove their theories, and they despicably called Einstein a theorist. I think they really meant a fantasist, because they were really mean people. But we owe everything to him now, because AI and quantum physics are coming together, because we know that time does not exist without space. So now we all realize that the only time that is really meaningful and real is the present, because we live in a reality where machines are coming in and creating a plethora of insights that we never suspected that they would be able to be achieved. For example, that a large language model is going to answer your questions, is going to write coherently, etc., etc. We are being challenged, not because of AI, but because we are beginning to realize our limitations, but also what we want AI to do. And human superpower is not just IQ, is emotional intelligence, is intuition, is all of that combined. We have 4 brains: neocortex, limbic system, and the new 100 million neurons in our gut. And all of that is how we operate. So the potentiality of human creativity is still in the making, is still in its splendor, and we should really focus on it. Just like every 4 years we watch Olympics, and at physical level we expect that people will still beat records. I mean, it's insane. So if we feel comfortable thinking that the human body and everything that is physical has limitations, right, will still beat those limitations, well, imagine human creativity. We need to start thinking that this cognitive system is not being utilized. And this is the good thing that AI is bringing to us, the fact that we're now looking at ourselves as a cognitive system. And I've been 25 years researching and developing artificial intelligence in industry. And I can tell you that the future is not IQ only. It's about cognition. It's about knowing the information, but knowing what to do, executing on the insights. And anything that we do, whether it's business, whether it's personal, is about achieving that mental splendor, that confidence, and that understanding of reality. And AI is changing the landscape constantly. For example, in 2018, governments began to realize that ethics were something really important when it comes to creating policies, creating regulation, really thinking of putting boundaries around AI. And today, because of generative AI, because of black box AI thinking, we know that it's not about ethics anymore, because we can go into the black box and change lines of code. It doesn't work like that. It's about having control of the data that goes into the system. So it starts before AI is doing anything, and that's the area where we do have control, because we are the ones that feed data into the machine. AI assumes that all the data that we pass on to it is true. It doesn't know if it's false. It doesn't know if there's something wrong with it, if it's not wholesome. It has no idea. That is our realm, the data governance of this equation. And this is where governments, industry, we're all realizing that this is where it's at. This is what we can control. For example, the early efforts in ethics were about assuring that everybody was treated with equality, right? But equality is two-dimensional. And today, the conversation is about equity, because equity is three-dimensional, is what is the context of this person's life that makes it deserve more than this other person? So we're moving into multidimensional thinking and also owning the data space. In this slide, when we produced the addendum for this year's write-up, we knew that AI was moving exponentially, and it was not just about advancing in a linear way, but really changing paradigms. For example, just in 12 months, Google and Microsoft have moved from co-pilots into AI agents. Have you heard AI agents? And AI agents, what they do is they assign tasks for humans to perform so that they can manage the overall group performance. Basically, you're not working for the man anymore, you're working for AI. And are we happy with that? Are people going to accept it, that an AI tells me what to do because it knows more about the overall performance of my team? This is why we're here today. You know, are we thinking that AI is capacitated, is in a position to actually take that leadership, make those decisions? Maybe not. I think that artificial intelligence is beginning to be looked at with, you know, a multitude of lenses. It's good for certain things, it's infallible for many things, and there are some other things that are still, it's a dog's dinner. You know, I continue to use Gen AI, and I put it to such stress that eventually I make it fail. And I know that it's because it's still in training. And our area, which is creativity, this is where humans really have their splendor. You know, how do we generate it? How do we ignite it? Well, when we are all together, and this is why I always defended that people work together under one roof, because creativity and imagination and intuition are biological. We feed off each other, we have to be in proximity, and gregarious socialization increases the brilliance of everybody in the team. And inspiration is an outward force. You know, we need to be out there to be inspired by things, to then go back and do our thinking and produce. And that's why I felt really excited to talk about AI within, you know, the built environment, because it is really a factory of dreams when we can all be together creating stuff, feeding off each other. So AI, which is great to take business decisions, increase competitive advantage. Where are we seeing AI work at a higher dimension? Well, when it has to do with the well-being of others, which is the business of governments. And when we look at how AI, for example, contributes to building a better world and dealing with tasks that are unsurmountable to us, for example, climate change and creating sustainability protocols, helping us manage resources, well, AI definitely is the tool. But are we going to see AI, for example, in healthcare? Yes, but does that mean that the doctors and the practitioners are going to be taken out of the equation? No, because for someone to heal, it needs hope and encouragement and empathy. Still need those doctors and those people around patients. So this is the opportunity to see AI in combination with all the many other things that we can put it to work with. And if I was to predict what would be the big impacting developments in the next 10 years, definitely preventative healthcare, precision agriculture, individualized education, employees upskilling, optimization of all the sectors. There is a joke in statistics and data analytics: in God we trust, all others must bring data. In AI, we say all others must bring true, verifiable, and governed data. And this is the area that we all need to focus now, because this is what we can control and assure, the quality of whatever AI we deploy internally. In the mid-1990s, if you told people, hey, are you going to get a mobile phone? Many people was like, are you joking? Be reachable all times? No, I don't want anyone to find me. And then when we put the internet on the phones, and then we saw why it was so cool. And perhaps we need to wait a little bit to see what else or what should be the other combination for generative AI or any other tools that are available to us right now. What we all should do is at least take control of what we manage, which is the data, what feeds AI. This is the nutrient that AI needs to perform. So I am happy to report that the United Kingdom, who is a pioneer in digitalization of services, is also a pioneer in understanding that the AI that we need to build has to be based not on regulation that is very tight, but really on principles and values, and especially data governance. And I hope that our conversation will inspire you to ask us questions and delve into this that I'm sharing with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amazing insight. And as Inma said, we will take some time to go into a bit more detail around it. But what we also wanted to do was take the opportunity to share with you the lessons that we've learnt from working with Inma and how we're applying them at ISS. Now, I have been told I only have a certain amount of time, so I'm not allowed to share every strategy. So I'll keep it to a few key areas that we are applying it to and how we're trialing AI and we're learning and growing with it. So for us, it is around evolution, and it is around the evolution, not necessarily of the technology, but of our people. For us, the vision of IT is to deliver technology that gets information to our people efficiently and at the right time to inform them. To delight them, yeah? We all have technology that are gadgets that we just like, yeah? Because it makes us smile. But also to enable them to make an actionable decision that they can take to deliver their job. So there are key areas that we look at when we do this. We put the people at the centre, and it very much is the core of what Inma presents. So if we think about who are our people, so let's first of all take our frontline colleagues. These are the people that work in the built environment that represent us. They're our supervisors, our cleaners, our engineers. And one of the things we do, we're a global organisation. We have 350,000 colleagues, and we have been rolling out a technology, an application called My ISS, which is our community app. We want every one of our colleagues to understand who they work for and to feel part of our organisation. Now, I can tell you what it is like to have two stakeholders with differing views, let alone 350,000 people who all have a different demand on that application. So we've been rolling it out. We've rolled it out to around 150,000 people. And the learnings that we have taken from how they engage with us has now enabled us to start to play with AI and do some proof of concepts. How can we use AI to personalize that application for those end users so that if I'm an engineer, the information I get served is relevant to me? How can we use AI that every time I use that application, it understands how I want to engage with it, and so I don't have to tell it, it just does it. All the while being very aware of the ethical boundaries, not making it too personal or too creepy that it follows you everywhere. Always a risk. So it is, with that, we've been building on the personalization. We also have a multicultural business, and so language is important, and we need to make people feel included. And every time you roll out technology, and particularly in this area, it has to remain inclusive. So we've been working with AI so that it can automatically identify a language and display and develop and deliver the app in that language. And that's not only in our community app, we're also trialing that with our recruitment, particularly with our frontline workers who don't necessarily have CVs, who don't necessarily want to engage via email. They need a quick way to engage with us that is inclusive, that can recognize their capability in digital and respond to them so they feel that they are on a positive journey. So that's some of the things that we're looking to do with our frontline colleagues. Then we go to our customers. Many of you are in the room. Again, we've been rolling out a workplace experience application, and this is really the application that helps you connect with the physical environment you're in, so you can understand what is going on in the building, who's in the building, is there a particular menu, theme, cultural event on. And again, it's how can we then take the learnings we're doing from our community app and apply it to this app to make it a lot more intuitive. One of the big things we've been asked to explore is, can we get rid of lanyards? If I've got this workplace experience app that knows who I am, can we get rid of the lanyard and I can just come in and with the app come through the doors and do that security? Now, I have previous experience working in an airport, so I know that is no easy task, and it's not easy to get past the security team either. But we will continue to trial it, and hopefully we can have lanyard-free entry into a number of our buildings. Talking of buildings, we're also trying to understand how can we leverage the data and information in the smart technology that sits in that and use that to do predictive maintenance and reduce the amount of times that engineers have to drive all around the country in order to fix things, which will have a real positive impact on our carbon. And it will take us further forward to being able to share that data broader than our industry, so people who are creating the next building can take learnings from how people navigate a building and how that building responds to it. Now, finally, but of course not least, is what we call our enablement functions. So these are the functions that sit in the offices. So it'll be myself, my colleagues, and how are we working with them? Now, I know Microsoft and Google have gone a lot further, but we're trialing Copilot. Yeah, it's not cheap, AI. So we're trialing Copilot and making sure that the people that we give the Copilot to already are comfortable with using Teams, SharePoint, and are able to go on that evolution journey and really pinpointing where we will get true value from it. We're also doing a couple of really exciting proof of concepts in two areas. One is legal, where we're actually working with Thomson Reuters and their capability to kind of take away the overhead that legal departments have, where they have to research through lots and lots of documents to get information and then add their experience and the value to make a quality decision. So we're working with that for that capability to bring all the information together, and then our legal teams can focus on adding the quality. And the other area, and I'm not going to say too much about it because I'm going to hand over to my colleague in a moment, is around our bid management. And we're going to showcase how we've been using that. But before I do hand over, the key things, and I think it builds on what Inma has already said, it is about putting the person in the centre, delivering the capability that makes them feel included, that makes them feel relevant and gives them value. So underpinning our journey is our digital inclusivity, and we are doing a lot of work internally, but we also engage with an amazing charity called Future.now. I know that Liz does a lot of work with a lot of governing bodies. If you haven't heard of them, I really recommend reaching out to them. It is the hidden middle. It is all the way from the CEOs down to your frontline workers. We have to bring all of them onto that digital journey. And then more recently, we've started to work with Multiverse. And again, this is because data is key. Good, clean, governed data that is maintained through consistent processes. And in order to do that, we have to upskill everybody from our frontline staff all the way through our organisation to ensure that they can bring that quality to the data that we can then understand the AI. So that's where we are in a nutshell. I'm happy to go into any more detail afterwards, but what I'd really like to do, what's been really exciting is we've been working with the commercial team on a proof of concept, and they really have shown that in order to make AI successful, it is dependent on clean data, on learning, on growing with it. And so it's a great delight to invite Bryony to the stage, who will share with you our recent POC and the learnings from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. So as Leanne says, hello, I'm Bryony Lane, and I am the head of bid writing at ISS. What my team do is we work with our customers, our operators, and our colleagues in solutions to put together compelling, bespoke proposals. And what I'm going to talk to you a bit about today is our journey so far in using AI, not only to enhance our bid writing processes, but how we develop solutions for our customers. And I'll share a little bit of insight along the way about our journey and what we've learned. So where did we start? With AI being such a topical and large field, where are we going to start our journey in using AI and proposal creation? As a relatively new function and team, we were already looking at and exploring ways to use more technology and innovation in our bid writing processes. And actually, that coincided with an excellent BSA talk that we attended earlier this year on the future of technology in procurement. So keynote speakers from government, from private sector organisations, and actually as well from leading AI platforms. And the real takeaway from the event's panel discussion was this. So the correct use of AI will enable humans to be more human and to focus on creativity, innovation, and compelling solutions during procurement. And that insight, that really resonated with us, and we thought, yes, how can we explore this to make our processes more creative, more innovative? So we've always been really clear about how we plan to use AI, and we've got some very clear guardrails for our team about what we believe AI will and won't do for us. Now, one of the really key potential benefits for us is the ability to just reduce the amount of time and churn spent on those manual, repeatable tasks. Having worked in bids for over 10 years, I cannot even add up the hours and months and days I've spent cutting words to create a proposal within word limits. So actually, how could we take that time, reduce there, and allow our bid teams to focus their energies on those high-value activities? So creativity, problem solving, strategy development. And we've been really, really clear with our teams that for us, the purpose of AI has never, ever, ever been about reducing headcount. And that's been a very important message in getting AI to land with users. This is really about maximizing their creativity. So simply put, what will AI never do for us? It is never going to mobilize the creative capability in our organization. We still need to engage with customers and bring together experts to design solutions. But the idea is it'll be a lot quicker to get that information onto a page. So how did we go about deciding on a platform and a partner for our 6-month proof of concept? What we really wanted to do is find a partner who shared our values around the use of AI being not to replace people and resource, but to really amplify what they can do and make their lives easier. So after really robust IT security vetting and lots of research on what was out there in the market, we started implementing our preferred platform. And we chose them because they have designed their workflows around proposal creation, so it makes it very easy for our users to adopt. Now that it's set up, the platform has nearly 3,000 bid-related documents in it, so that ranges from baseline content, our standard operating procedures, white papers, case studies, anything that you would need to put together a really compelling proposal. And actually, given the vast potential of AI, what was really important for us here also is to keep our scope quite narrow and keep it very specifically around proposal creation processes. So that leads me on to how we defined our scope for a proof of concept. What we did first is we mapped out the typical stages in a proposal process, and we broke those down into 5 key areas. And then we started to look at these in a bit more detail and think, what sub-processes exist within these that perhaps are manual, are repetitive, are dull in places, and are not giving our teams the best chance to add value. And what I'll do here is I'll talk through a couple. So what we normally do is we begin a bid proposal with lots of preparation and research. Now, AI is assisting us in speeding that step up. So the platform we've selected will give us a snapshot of what we do and don't have using guided search. And what that lets us do is go out into the business, collect innovation, case studies, relevant information for our customers. In terms of assessment, AI has been really effective in helping us mine bid documentation, so we can understand the key themes and requirements much more quickly and focus a program on collaboration with customers and solution development. And actually, we can also get to those hard-hitting kind of questions that we want to have and dialogue we want to have with customers much, much earlier in the process. We also really want to spend the time that we typically give to drafting and editing. We want to spend that instead on solutions development and collaboration. So the platform is really helping our skilled creators with that drafting process, spelling, grammar, syntax, readability, things that are really important in proposal creation because it helps our customers find the information they need. But can we speed that up? Now, the benefits are very compelling, but actually, what could that look like and what does that look like across those 5 stages I've talked about a little bit? So what we've done is we've looked at it from both an efficiency and a quality perspective from each stage of proposal production. And what we've done here is modelled what that would look like using the data we've gathered across a 100-day bid period. So the early signs of AI are showing that we can create around 15 days of efficiency in a bid program, and we can use those days instead on customer engagement, on being together in the room, on developing solutions. And the proof of concept's indicating that what that's meaning for us in a practical way is a 10% improvement on proposal quality scores. And I think for me that really shows that AI is helping us meet our customer needs more effectively. And just kind of on that note, I'd really like to share some recent customer feedback on a submission that stuck with me. On this particular bid, we used AI to support the process throughout, and we received highest quality scores, but the bit that really stuck with me and the impactful part is they said to us, "You truly understood our needs." And I just thought, wow, how powerful is that? And that's how we want to use AI to enhance our offering. So before I close, I thought I would just share a snapshot of some of the learnings from our deployment so far. And I actually think these can be applied to wider business functions as well. It's not just limited to our area. Firstly, I would say AI can be the solution, but think very, very carefully about the problems that you're solving. For us, it was really important to define what those manual, repetitive tasks were and solve those with AI, and that enables us to keep quality high. Give bespoke AI functions to functional experts. We've got 9 users on our platform at the moment, and they are all skilled content creators. And what I mean by that is they spend, on average, 3 out of 5 days of their week creating proposal content. It's a really conscious decision we made there. AI doesn't replace a skilled bid writer. It just enhances their ability to do what they do well a little bit faster. And actually, an unseen benefit of that is I think that using AI in bidding is going to open it up as a career to a much wider talent pool who might not have considered it before. And then finally, be curious and also be prepared to change your mind. There are lots of elements that we set out to achieve that after the proof of concept, we thought it creates no efficiency for us here, and that's okay. But there were also some really unexpected benefits. We found that with the time we were recouping from manual tasks in a proposal process, we've actually decided to create a new role in our team, and that function is specifically designed to go out into our business, to gather case studies, to speak to our operators, and to bring that back for the benefit of our customers, which is really exciting. So in summary, there's still lots for us to explore in the future, but the integration of AI in our bid writing process has opened up lots of possibilities for us. It lets us use technology not just to create proposals that are more efficient and of higher quality, but they're also more innovative and they're also more responsive. And actually, it's got job satisfaction at its heart. We've got creators who tell us that they are really enjoying their tasks day to day, they're adding value, and it's got the potential to open the world of bidding up to a really new, diverse talent pool. So the journey, although it's just beginning for us, I'm really excited to see what's next, and I can't wait to see the potential that it holds for our teams. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Bryony. And what I love every time you present this is actually this is about the end user, the person that is getting the value out of the capability rather than an IT presentation on what it can do. Wow. What an afternoon. And I think more than anything, one of the things that really resonated with me is that it's only been 6 months since we last sat down, and so much has changed. I mean, we got such amazing feedback from your original white paper, and I'm sure we'll get the same level of feedback from the addendum that you've just recently released. But just a bit of reflection, when you look back at the white paper and what we covered off around workplace culture, waste, the built environment, would you say that since we last sat down, there has been any significant change or growth, or are we in a bit more of a pause and reflect at the moment?
I think everything has slowed down a bit. Especially at government level and also industry. I mean, the wow moment everybody had in November 22nd when we started playing with ChatGPT, it was like, people had been taken to Hogwarts, right? And I remember I used to say, please, this is a badly trained model. Oh, this is amazing. And then the panic. And then the panic. And now we're out of the panic. And we are more into, right, this is useful, but this is how we want to do things. This is where we have control. Before we bring this and this in, we have knowledge of what is needed for us to adopt it. And when it comes to people, which is what I cover a bit in my presentation, everybody knows now that there's no way that we can take the humans out of the equation. I mean, it's clear. The question also is, what is this thing really useful for, that it's worth our efforts, our financing of it, adaptation into putting a system like that. And it's making us more aware of where we want to build assets and competitiveness.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great year of realization.
Yeah, and I think we the POCs we've been doing is really being that realization about what it takes to actually make it add value and to meet our standards. It's the standards that we need from it is quite high, and so. Not to put you on the spot, but when you look at the audience and to ourselves, if you were to give us a piece of advice on how we should approach AI moving forward, what would it be in terms of, should we move into it quickly? Should we continue pausing, reflecting? What would your advice be on how to tackle the big question, AI or to not AI?
I mean, it's good to be up to date with whatever everybody's building, supposedly for all of us. And then checking that we could potentially adopt it and how. I think people are more critical as to the value of the actual technology. So for example, just to give you an example, yes, Google and OpenAI have been training these long language models for decades, Google. Yeah, OpenAI not so much, but OpenAI, everybody who used to work at Google, and then they all created the pseudo foundation and then now it's a competitive. I think the latest news this morning is that, yes, we are a for-profit company. And I thought, but wasn't that because Sam was fired? Now we realize that this is the purpose. So what I see is data is what everyone is realizing, we have this data and it's ours. We don't need to buy it. We have control over it. So for example, people like Bloomberg are training their own LLM. But why? Why spend all that money? Because they own all of their content. It's a company that since the late 80s has been producing market analysis, market news, So, of course, they don't need to steal the data or buy someone's data. They're now training their data to perform in a language model. And many, many companies look at the assets that they have, and probably a good 60 to 70% is data that they already own. And that is the light bulb moment that everyone is having, like, okay, what would be the easiest product or service that we could build ourselves, implement ourselves, because we control the data, and there's going to be great opportunities.
And, it's great to hear that data is at the heart of everything.
It is everything.
And it's not just for language models. I mean, we were talking earlier actually about how that data and the sharing of the data can bring value to other organisations through different capabilities. And we touched on the NHS. So I know we've just recently started some conversations with NHS England, in particular around their federated data platform. And how can we take the data that we've learned from where we support hospitals as porters, cleaners, the catering, and build that into that broader platform to better serve and deliver and support the NHS. And I know that you've also, on a broader, been looking at areas that data and then the technology that it will drive can support the NHS.
I mean, I'm super excited about the AI lab. Is there anyone from the NHS here?
I was going to say, would you like to come? No? Okay.
So, and I have put an alert from the .gov page so that there's any news on this AI lab I know. And is sitting down and looking at all of the images from radiology that the NHS has, and then training a prediction system to detect tumors, cancer markers. And this is insane because I know that in some universities, the first time I saw that was at MIT in 2008. I know that at Imperial, we have been working on stuff like this, but officially, the health system of a nation building a lab to do it for real.
Yeah.
Imagine the advantage that the UK will have, 3-5 years down the line, when this is really operating. In fact, you will be able to see what a human radiologist will not see, and then therefore tackle this type of horrendous diseases much sooner with, easier protocols for healing and maybe not chemotherapy, maybe something easier than that, is really an advancement to society and looking after people. And it's just coming out of a small lab that is going to be probably 20, 30 people there. Yeah. It's insane. Just because they own the precious data.
And it's clean, well-governed.
And well-governed.
And precise.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's brilliant. But, we'll stay on the NHS. We know that as you move into this technology, it is not cheap. Let's not put too fine a point on it to take it to scale, both from a monetary point of view and then the sustainability consequences. How do we navigate that to make sure that we're really putting both the money and the carbon impact into the right areas?
So you remember when computers used to be the size of wardrobes?
Yes, I am that old.
This is a little bit like what training large language models has been, yeah? As of lately, there's some very clever people at universities, also within these big firms, that are now training short language models so that you don't use as much energy. It's actually cheaper, and you're quicker. So there's a lot of change right now in terms of how we are creating language-based products, generative products, not like the mammoth style of training like a 1 million parameters model, which you need a $1 billion average for that, but actually make it more accessible. I was sharing with you that I'm going to MIT the week of 22nd of October because I want to be the day that some students launch the new paradigm in big computational programs have been sped up. I saw a demo by chance. I was speaking in Paris. They were invited to speak. And I remember that I was looking at the presentation and then looking at the audience, and I thought, I'm the only person that knows what these people are talking about. And I work with the head of robotics at MIT, and I called her and I said, have you seen these liquid AI guys? And she's like, yeah, I'm mentoring them. Oh my God, do you want to come for the launch? And I'm like, I'm there. Because I know it's happening. There's so much that is just speeding up in making super advanced AI accessible and less costly and more efficient and more sustainable.
And when do you think things like liquid AI will be something that we can engage with? I mean, I know it's so hard to measure because, things move very quickly. But I mean, what will it potentially give to the rest of us, those of us that want to engage with it? And when can we play with it?
Well, the first thing that's going to happen is that because they're a startup, of course, the Googles and the Microsofts of this world are going to be in that room. Probably they'll raise money, and we will see if they go for an enterprise or if they go for an open source approach, or that's why I want to go. Because he explained how it worked, and then I thought, oh, this is insane. And then I want to be in the room to see what's your plan as a small company? What's the plan here? How much is this thing going to cost? Because it's truly a changing paradigm. And it happens every time in technology. The hardware gets smaller and more powerful, more efficient, and everything streamlines, and it becomes more accessible and less costly.
Yeah, and the way we use it and engage it then drives all of the periphery technology that supports it to advance, similar to mobile phones. I mean, the speed in which broadband and connectivity advanced when we all took a liking to smartphones was just exponential. And I guess will we see a similar thing here in order to deliver it in a sustainable and cost-effective way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, it's back to how we use it that's really going to drive it. And so another cost of using this technology, and we've all touched on it, is the ethical cost. And that's the inclusivity. So there's biases out there. And every time, and I think Microsoft, I went to a conference with Microsoft, and their head of ethics stood up and said there was a point in time that every time they did a launch, they were called out by accessibility groups that you have now excluded us. And so they changed that whole approach. And I guess it's as we engage with this technology to be smarter, to deliver apps, how do we ensure that we remain ethical, not just to make sure we make you feel included, but we don't cross any lines where we overshare or overfollow?
I was just thinking, in which one of their ethical mess-ups do I have to think about? It's not the one.
Yeah.
And when you read about it, you're like, oh my God, who was running this campaign? No, you will never be there. Okay. I think that you have more common sense.
Can you share the campaign so that we can learn? No, okay.
It was really terrible. But the great majority of the technological advances have been embracing everybody. I mean, yes, iPhones are mega expensive, and but for example, the mobile operators, make it very accessible for you to pay on a monthly basis. So somehow the economics make it happen for adoption. I think that where it comes to igniting people's imaginations and leading everybody else in the marketplace is when you launch something that is really, truly human-centric. And that magical word that is splashed across the entire 144 pages of the EU AI Act, which if one night you can't sleep, I invite you to read it. Like, you won't go far from page 12, you'll be off with the fairies. It just talks about human-centric, human-centric. It doesn't even explain what they mean. What is human-centric? And it's a simple equation. Is the person has to find it not just useful, not just super functional or convenient, but something that engages you in a way that you're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this all my life. That there's an emotional reaction, not, oh yes, this is very useful. It's not a pencil, yeah, it's something else, yeah? And also, not just that, but that is fit for purpose, that it really works and is not going to explode and is not going to harm you, is safe. That is the entire ergonomics of the type of AI that we want to build, which is why we are all raising our hands saying, wonderful, wonderful generative AI, but it has to allow our people to work with less effort, to do more, to do better. But it's for our people. It's not supplanting anyone. And in fact, this is why the tech companies are so bad at explaining what AI is for. If you look at the office work of today, my goodness, we have so many things to do. Why? Because we have so many tools that allow us to do much more. I'm thinking about when my grandfather was in some office. Probably it will take him a whole week to do a ledger or something. Now Excel is just flying, right? So we do more, a lot more things. And now faster, because half of it is digitized. So with AI, once the AI does whatever it has to do and then we do the other bit, I bet you they will come and say, oh, this is wonderful. Why don't you guys do this and that? And like, more work. Like, we always go for more.
Yeah.
Because if we can do all these things, I remember I was at Nokia Innovation. I built many products, and for them especially. And when you talk to engineers and you say, right, this is all great, but what if we could make it do X? Oh, no, that is impossible. Eventually, you know what? They achieve it. Yes. There's no boundaries to human capabilities and what they can do if they're motivated. And that's why I believe firmly that people need to work together under the one roof. I would not extract what I was able to get out of people's brains and enthusiasm if they were sitting behind a Zoom.
Yeah, no, and it's a big thing, that hybrid working. It's, and you're seeing it across many industries where you've got the big, tech companies saying it's now back in the office 5 days a week, not because they want to check your work, but for that collaboration, that innovation, and that connection. So you mentioned something, and on a personal note, I'm hoping AI replaces Excel. It would be a career ambition that Excel is no more. That would be lovely. But I'm still coming across here's a piece of AI, can we download it to Excel? But with that on a side, you also touched on, we as individuals are going to be as responsible as the tech companies in making AI work for us and to develop it and take it to where we want it. But we need a framework to work in. Now, I know you work in a number of governing bodies to help influence that framework and make sure that regulation allows for the growth, but also adds that protection. I mean, can you share a bit more about the governing bodies that you work with, and where do you think the regulation is going, and is it keeping up with not just the technology, but the way we're engaging with it?
So I am the chair of the AI initiative for AI that sprung out of the G7, and then many more stakeholders joined. It's called the Global Partnership on AI. This summer, we have merged with the OECD AI group, and the governments, they still want us to work on projects that they mandate to us. It's a funny world. They ask us, what do you think we should think of? And I'm like, about this and that. Okay, then work on that. Like, great. And what is clear is that we cannot regulate fully something that is in development. So the UK has taken the lead, supported as well with the US, same attitude, etc., that we need to create principles and values according to each sector, and then create policy frameworks for each, because it's not the same to work in healthcare data or education data or agricultural data. So each one needs, its own understanding of how we're going to govern it, assure it, make sure that whatever AI comes out is being used, it really is within boundaries. Yeah. But the UK is always pushing innovation. And every time the issue comes up in the discussions, the UK, light on the mic, innovation is our DNA as a nation. We're not going to stop it. We will support it. We will keep an eye on anything that's going on with AI. We will validate models, but we want things to happen. We want researchers, universities, academics to come up with new ideas that we can benefit from. We will not come down on them with massive regulation that will not allow anyone to do anything. Yeah. In fact, the EU regulation, which obviously everybody in Brussels was so proud of, whereas all of us on the outside were like, oh my God, what is this straitjacket? Now they are acknowledging that perhaps it needs some vertical approaches.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I remember, I think we touched on it last time we met, that the regulation is great, but AI has no borders. So even if you are really strict in Europe, if I access a technology in the UK, how are you going to manage those borders? It gets even more complicated. It's beyond data sharing.
Yeah, and also all of our companies are global companies. We export, import. The world is a marketplace. How are you going to develop products driven or powered by AI that then you need to understand what's the regulatory environment of each country? And also, by the way, the EU Act on AI is a paper. Every member of Europe, of the EU, has now to bring it down to national regulation. And everybody's just butting their heads.
They could do with an AI tool to help them to consolidate it all and give some answers. But it does, I mean, it leads to an interesting point. There needs to be a framework to make sure we engage it right. But how do you touched on it in your white paper as well, is the impact that this will have on security and cyber defense, and how that is going to have to advance to stay you're one step ahead of what's coming. Are you seeing a lot of changes in that area whilst the regulators are working out theirs?
Obviously, telecommunications.
Yeah.
Because governments buy loads of telecoms from big companies like Vodafone, and so they need assurance that national security is preserved and in our hands, and there will not be infiltrations. So everybody starts thinking, oh, what servers are we using? What hosting? What kind of cybersecurity systems are we deploying? Zero trust platforms, blah, blah, blah. Are they European companies? Are they British companies? Yeah, because the devil is in the detail.
Yeah. And do you see, I know a bit of a dark question, but do you see that the threat actors will start to want to work out how they can leverage AI to get ahead of us and our defences? Is that something you think will emerge? How quickly do you think they'll adopt that?
So there's two kinds of bad actors. This is how the cybersecurity people talk, bad actors. There's the lone solo kid, brilliant, that manages to hack into the CIA. And then there are government cybersecurity attacks that are trying to threaten democracies, coming from North Korea, coming from China, coming from Russia. Those are serious because they do have the money.
Yeah.
The young kid trying to break into a system, easy. They will never have the super computational ability to launch a major attack that would bring us down. What is serious is about misinformation, the amount of bots that are in social networks like X, major attacks into our infrastructures that come from, combined approaches, and it's not just one, but it's maybe 100 of them. Those are on a daily basis being prevented. The good news is that all the democracies, all our nations work together. So I remember, I think in February, a major ransomware network was brought down by the UK, France, Spain, the Netherlands, Germany, Interpol. And it was like the notorious one that asks for millions to corporations, et cetera, et cetera. And then within 3 weeks, it went back on because it's like, it has millions, it's like a tentacles structure. Okay, you destroy us, we come together again. But when I spoke to the stakeholders, I'm not going to say who, I was like, didn't you feel terrible when these people were back on 3 weeks later? I said, well, the good news is that when we brought them down, we learned so much about how they organize themselves and where they host things, etc., that next time it's going to take us less time in catching up with them, and then less time, and then we will be more. Meaning more countries are joining us in this big endeavor. And if you look around the world, there's infinitely more amicable nations that support us than rogue nations that try to bring us down. So the good will prevail. But life is about challenges.
Yes, definitely. And, and again, it will go back to, as it happens, always remembering that it is up to us to be able to triangulate that information, review what's coming in, and then respond, just not depending on it. Now, I know that we're going to have some questions in the audience soon, but before we do, you've had led some of the innovation in some amazing areas in technology, in particular in smart homes, which is obviously, what would be your most exciting area? If you would share one thing that was really there to delight and you really enjoyed, what would it be across those innovations?
In industry?
Anyone, and I wasn't going to say tell them about the Formula One. I'm trying not to go there again. You can watch the video for that one. In any industry, what is the thing that you've worked on and you've led that has really you're excited and delighted?
I think computer vision for Audi.
Yeah.
There's so much AI in cars, and cars that we all drive. Since the 80s, they take control of the brakes and the steering because the car knows if you're driving it badly and your life is in danger. So when you speed up in curves, it definitely takes over your driving. If you're trying to brake, it doesn't brake. I always tell people, you're trying to brake, and it's not braking. Yeah, because you're not braking in the apex. You will be dead. You need to learn from Lewis how you do that. So I've never seen more AI than inside a car. The systems are insane. And now everybody's like, oh, when I'm driving my car and I'm going onto the lane, where I hear this beep, it's because of the camera. It does it visually, but it's insane is the AI built for all the electrics and the engine, and especially stability control and etc. That's nuts. It's like a rocket.
Yeah, and I'm reading a book at the moment called The Passengers, which is the dark side of when a connected car can get hacked and taken over. I'm not keen to get in. Anyway, look, thank you. As always, we have a terrible tendency to overrun, and I can see the Davids at the back waving quickly so that I can give some time to you to ask any questions of Inma. And there is a microphone, so just put your hands up.
Thank you. Very interesting, amazing talk. Thank you very much for putting it on today. I'm just wondering to what extent you think those companies that do have large data sets, like the NHS, that will embed their dominance for many years to come because they will be ahead of the game. So I'm thinking of Microsoft, they're buying up AI engines and etc. But is it the data that's the power, or is it the engine?
It's the data. I'll give you a simple example. 10 years ago in Wall Street, some of the biggest hedge funds began to build AI in black boxes to completely do the stock picking and also closing positions automatically without any human intervention. And there was one in particular, I can't remember the name, that was giving amazing returns. In 5 years, they closed it. And I remember the CEO wrote to all of the shareholders explaining why. And he was incredibly honest. He said, we do BRIC countries, so Brazil, Russia, China, and we've noticed that because of the market information that comes to us and it feeds into the system is kind of tampered with, our AI doesn't know it. And then it just performs, and it takes us weeks to notice that it's overfitting, meaning giving outputs that are nonsense. And then they said, we need humans to make sense of the market information. And then they closed the fund. So the data is incredibly valuable, but the most important thing is the people that know the data intimately. They know which is the good data that we should use, by how much, by how many strings of data we need. And I remember the first time I saw how an AI had been trained to detect brain hemorrhages. It was 9,000 images, 5 radiologists at the University Hospital of MIT, which is not too much. So it's the people that trained that system. And that's why when I heard about the AI lab at the NHS, I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. I need to keep an eye on what's going on there. And it's the data, it's the richness. This is what AI is, just like a machine, a washing machine. And then you feed it with precious data that allows you to have multidimensional contexts, really understand. There's another example. There was another case in which data was taken from all the women that go through ER and what's going on with them. And then we visualized all the data, and we found that a small percentage had food poisoning and real poison inside them. And then there's another one, and then once we saw this whole thing in operation, we thought, what binds all these particular cases together? They were all living with abusive partners that were trying to kill them. So the data takes you to places when you own it and you can use it in combinations, etc. That's why this is really exciting.
Any other questions?
Hi. Do you think we'll ever get to a situation where there'll be a certified AI, where the data that's feeding in from a public point of view that we can trust?
That's what Germany would love. So the UK AI Safety Institute has been testing large language models for mechanistic interpretability, meaning, in normal English, that the outputs are correct. Yeah? And it's because the plan is that we're not going to worry about regulation. We're going to try to certify and validate this type of AI that is meant to go into industry, because if you try to convince a massive corporation, a leader in the marketplace, to bring this type of AI in-house, I mean, it has to have some validation. And that's where we're at.
Thank you. Incredibly insightful, and thank you. Quite a big question, but the impact of AI on our education system, do you think we're getting to grips with it, and what does it hold for the future?
AI is very good helping students review, because you can do it in your own time. Some reviewing systems for maths are amazing. It's a bit of a game. Nobody's watching over your shoulder when you get things wrong and you get all the answers. So it's a self-learning, and kind of practicing and rehearsing is very, very valuable. I don't see that AI is going to ever supplant teachers or books or being in class, but it's a very useful tool to test how you are learning, or for a teacher to test what the class is doing. Is everybody having, for example, if all the students would do the exams on pieces of paper, it would be really hard for a teacher to get a sense of where is the class failing, all of them. But if you make them do the test in a computer and you have AIs to analyze why everybody spends 3 minutes on this question, well, maybe the question is not really understandable and it's my fault. You know, this type of insights that you would never gain if things were done in analogical ways, then that's useful as a tool for teachers, as a tool for students to kind of self-learn and improve in their own time, in their own ways that they learn. We all know that people learn in 5 different ways, and some kids, they need that kind of support.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Are we good? Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much again. As always, you know, I could just sit here and talk to you for ages, but I think there are some drinks waiting at the back of the room that we're between. Maybe we can stay here, carry on chatting, and they can go do
a glass of wine.
And they can do the drinks. So thank you again for your insight. If you haven't read the report, please do. It really is powerful, and I think what it does bring to life is that it is down to you and I on how AI works in our life and in our buildings and in our businesses. It is not down to the OpenAIs and the Googles. They are just providing us with a tool, and it's all about data, 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 which is good if you follow consistent processes. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.